This coming Sunday is the 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time. We have been reading from Matthew's Gospel, and our Gospel passage for this week comes from the Gospel account of Matthew. Last week we had a parable about a farmer sowing seed. This week we have a parable about a man who finds that the field has both wheat and weeds growing in it. The passage is Matthew chapter 13, verses 24 through 43. Let's take a listen. Jesus proposed another parable to the crowd, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be likened to a man who sowed good seed in his field. While everyone was asleep, his enemy came and sowed weeds all through the wheat, and then went off. When the crop grew and bore fruit, the weeds appeared as well. The slaves of the householder came to him and said, 'Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where have the weeds come from?' He answered, 'An enemy has done this.' His slaves said to him, 'Do you want us to go and pull them up?' He replied, 'No. If you pull up the weeds, you might uproot the wheat along with them. Let them grow together until harvest. Then, at harvest time, I will say to the harvesters, first collect the weeds and tie them in bundles for burning, but gather the wheat into my barn.' He proposed another parable to them. 'The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that a person took and sowed in a field. It is the smallest of all the seeds, yet when full grown, it is the largest of plants. It becomes a large bush, and the birds of the sky come and dwell in its branches.' He spoke to them another parable. 'The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed with 3 measures of wheat flour until the whole batch was leavened.' All these things Jesus spoke to the crowds in parables. He spoke to them only in parables, to fulfill what had been said through the prophet. 'I will open my mouth in parables. I will announce what has lain hidden from the foundation of the world.' Then, dismissing the crowds, he went into the house. His disciples approached him and said, 'Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field.' He said in reply, 'He who sows good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, the good seed the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. Just as weeds are collected and burned up with fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will collect out of his kingdom all who cause others to sin, and all evildoers. They will throw them into the fiery furnace, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Whoever has ears ought to hear.'" We probably have all asked the question, where have the weeds come from? If we have a backyard garden with tomatoes or other plants, we probably are not immune from that infestation of weeds. As we go out to see how the plants are doing, we might have asked ourselves, where have the weeds come from? The gardener or farmer knows that he did not plant weeds, he planted wheat. The man says, "An enemy has done this." If we think about this parable as referring to our lives, we know that God has created us. He has given us amazing abilities and talents. He has called us to nurture them, to cultivate them, to be fruitful. And yet we know there are weeds in our lives. There is sin in our lives. There is imperfection in our lives. The evil one has sown the weeds, and they have found a place in the soil of my life. And there they are, right next to the wheat, growing. The helpers, as if they should ask if they should pull up the weeds. The man says no. He is being cautious, worried that when they pull the weeds, they may also pull the wheat. He tells them to wait till harvest time. Our God is patient with us. He is patient as he sees the weeds growing in our lives. He continues to cultivate and sow the seeds of wheat. He knows that at the end of time, at harvest time, the wheat and the weeds will be separated. The weeds will be burned. The wheat will be placed in the barn. It's important to look at our lives to see what is growing there, wheat or weeds or both. We can nurture the growth of the good stuff, the wheat, and we can curtail the growth of the weeds. Even as we wait for the end of time, for the final separation of the wheat and the weeds, we can be attentive to the plot of land I have, my own life, and let grow that which is life-giving, the wheat. You may not be a farmer, you may not even have a backyard garden, but I am sure you know what weeds are, and you know where they are not supposed to be growing. Let the gospel fill your week. See you in church. For now, God bless.